Ever feel like no matter how much you clean, the clutter just keeps coming back? You organize, you try new systems, you swear that this time it'll stick, and yet, a week later, it's chaos again. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. ADHD and clutter go hand in hand, and today we're talking about why and how to make organization actually work for your ADHD brain. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Nostalgic Neurodivergent, where we talk about ADHD, parenting, and life, served with a side of nerdy zennial energy. I'm Corey, and today we're diving into something that so many ADHD moms struggle with: clutter. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stuff around you, if your brain shuts down the second you try to organize, or if your cluttered space makes you feel like you're failing, this episode is for you. In this episode, we'll cover why ADHD makes it so hard to stay organized, the brain science behind clutter and executive dysfunction, why traditional organizing methods just don't work for us, and talk about some ADHD-friendly strategies to make decluttering easier. So, why does ADHD make organization so hard? And let's be real, clutter isn't just the stuff that we see in front of us, it's the decisions, the unfinished tasks, and the mental overwhelm made visible. In ADHD brains, we process all of that differently. First, we may deal with some object permanence issues. If we don't see it, we forget it exists, so we leave the things out. Then we deal with our executive dysfunction, so the sorting and the categorizing and making the multiple decisions at once, exhausting. And we don't forget to factor in time blindness, where we just misjudge how long those tasks are going to take, so then we start putting them off in the future. And finally, we have emotional attachment. So we assign meaning to objects, which makes it harder to let those things go. So you remember those stacks of burned CDs and mixtapes that we just had to keep because what if I want to listen to this one song again? That's ADHD clutter logic in a nutshell. So most organizing advice assumes that we already have executive function skills in place, but ADHD brains just don't work that way. Complicated systems equals instant overwhelm. So the more steps, the less likely we'll follow through. The old Nike adage of just do it does not work. We need external motivation, body doubling, or visual cues. And there's perfectionism paralysis, where if we can't do it perfectly, we're just going to avoid it entirely. And we have decision fatigue, the mental energy of where does this go? And that is just too much. I once spent an entire afternoon trying to organize my desk, only to end up sitting on the floor, overwhelmed and surrounded by my doom piles. Turns out my brain needed a different approach. So how do we make organization work for our ADHD brains? It's all about removing friction and making things easier instead of more disciplined. First, we implement the one-touch rule. If you pick it up, put it where it belongs immediately. Then, instead of taking on one big decluttering project, implement micro decluttering, 5-minute sprints instead of a marathon. Look into visual storage solutions, so clear bins, open shelves so you can see what you have, and body doubling. Have a friend or a podcast keep you company while you clean. And we have drop zones. So we create intentional clutter spaces for frequently used items. Think of your house like an old school video game inventory. If you keep too much junk, you run out of space, and then you can't find the important stuff. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Here's your reality check. You're not lazy and you don't lack discipline, even if that's what you've been told your entire life. Your brain just needs a system that actually works for you instead of against you. A messy house isn't a moral failing, it's a sign that your current system isn't ADHD friendly. So let's change that. Grab my free daily flow blueprint. It is packed with ADHD friendly routines to simplify your day and reduce decision fatigue. So, if you take away anything from this episode, remember this: clutter isn't just physical, it's also mental. And simplifying is way more important than doing it perfectly. If this episode spoke to you, send it to a fellow ADHD mom who needs to hear this. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And don't forget to grab your free daily flow blueprint. The link is in the show notes. Just like Tetris, sometimes you have to clear out the blocks to make space for what matters. I'll talk to you again soon.